Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Social Media Fridays on Monday, episode 88. Each week we meet to discuss topics of interest loaded into the Social Media Fridays community on Google+. With us today we have Masataki Wasa. Masataki is webmaster of wasaweb.net. He's also a Google top contributor on the AdSense and also the Google Plus help community. Masataki can be found at wasaweb.net, WASAWEB.net. Meher Bhagat is a social media queen and human resources dynamo from Delhi in India, or is it New Delhi?
New Delhi.
New Delhi. We must get a website happening for you, Meher. And William Rock, an SEO superstar. He hails from Arkansas, Kansas in the USA. And William's also a top contributor on, is it Web Search?
Correct, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We have a few topics tonight. The first one is on mobile chat's biggest players. Well, yeah, we were talking about this in the green room. It's huge, but I wonder what its commercial value is. It's so many people just using their mobiles. I just wonder what the commercial value is, but certainly the numbers are huge. What do you think, guys?
Well, I think it's going to be a big change. I mean, we can see already with the technology, everything's going to the mobile device. So, and basically with the new Hangout application that Google's put together with the Android, I see it even being simplified a little bit more. So I see the trend where it's saying it's 28.7 trillion in 2017. That's probably very accurate, if not more, because everybody's kind of moving into that technology. It's just right in our hands. We don't have to open up the laptop or go to a desktop machine anymore.
One of the other reason we can say is that because most of the companies and the brands that we actually look forward to, be it for buying or latest promotions, what's new with them, the local market, it's live, active on these chat, messenger or chat platforms. So it's pretty easier and convenient to actually connect with people, at the same time follow brands that you want. So when we talk about commercially, most of the platforms are currently free. They don't have much play there, but it won't be. It's not that. I don't think it's going to take companies and these all messenger companies to come up with an idea. Like Facebook is currently working on getting businesses for WhatsApp. They're working on how to actually get businesses kind of system in WhatsApp, how to get maybe groups via groups or follow buttons or something. But it's not when it comes to commercially utilizing these apps. I think next 8 months we should be having something that these companies would be working on. And I think right now what's more important is getting people addicted to these kind of messenger apps, because it's free, right? There's like, if you're using WhatsApp, it's basically free. There's no ads coming up on my face, so I don't mind using it. But at the same time, I get irritated with a lot of messages. But then see, the psyche is that I am getting irritated, but I'm still not deleting it. So it's getting addiction to these platforms. So companies are, I wouldn't deny that they are realizing it, that it's something that we people are going to use as a compulsion in near future.
Yep. Somebody was saying during the break that there are many items there that you guys haven't even seen yet.
For me, I haven't seen Kick so far. I've tried most of the apps that have been mentioned there, but not actively using all. But the only app that I haven't tried is Kick. Have you guys tried all the apps? What do you feel?
No, actually, I've used none of them. The 5 listed in that piece were Kick, Messenger by Facebook, WeChat, Line, and WhatsApp. And I've never used any of them. I can't really say much.
Nor have I. You know, I really haven't spent any time doing it because I'm also in the United States. So I don't know if those are proprietary for other continents or is Cake actually? Because I actually have never heard of Cake. So
No, Kick apparently was it 18 million users in North America? So, but it's very popular with teenagers apparently. So, you know, I'm in the wrong place and I'm in the wrong demographic. WeChat, I think, is mainly mainland China. Of course, China has a very, shall we say, distinct media landscape because of how information is controlled in that country. So, you know, it is a very big market, which, to a certain extent, is cut off from other really big worldwide companies. Line is very popular in the Far East, so Japan, Korea, Taiwan, those kind of places. So there are regional differences, and it'd be interesting to see how, you know, whether we're going to see fewer of them survive the next few years, so everyone will be using one or two, or are we going to see the other process where they're going to be more and more niche markets? So people might have multiple accounts with different chat clients. So it's going to be interesting because at the moment, I think you can argue for both to take place. You could say, well, more and more people are going to get on Facebook, so they're going to use either Messenger or WhatsApp. Or you could say, you know, people are going to use different modes of communication to communicate with different types of people. So, you know, you might have professional communication, which you want to keep separate from your family and friends, and you might want to keep, you know, close friends separate from friends that you sort of know. So it's going to be really interesting how this is going to pan out. But I'm not a chat person. I find it very distracting and overwhelming. So, you know, I often ask people to send me an email because, you know, if they want to chat with me, I get distracted. My mind's scattered everywhere. I can't really do much. You know, send me an email. Perhaps that's because I'm not a digital native, as it were. I'm not really used to it. I'm happier having a chunk of text document in front of me that I can sort of mull over and respond, rather than respond immediately.
good point. Good point. Now I'm the opposite. I would rather not have the email. I would rather have the chat, or basically the private communication in a private chat.
I am mix of both in that case. Where I see potential, I do chat, but I make it, you know, some time specific so that there's no liberty given. The priority is, of course, email, and then if potential, that I move to chat. But then again, I think it really depends on person to person how they use these apps. Um, we basically are professionals. All of us are working, right? So there is a time constraint that we all have, and we would not like to divert it. And I have to agree with you, Masataki, there, because it is distracting. It is time consuming. It takes a lot of effort to actually, get onto a chat, and it is time consuming. If you're doing this constantly, continuously, I would say you really cannot do something else other than it. So, but then a lot of people use it, and everybody has their own purpose of using it. I do want to ask Jim, do you have any chat application on your phone?
Look, I don't. I resisted having a mobile phone for years and years and years because I was terribly concerned that people might ring me up on it. So I do have a mobile phone. See, it's sitting here. There it is. But it's useful. Like when I turn my computer off at night, it lights up briefly, so that when I turn off the light, I can walk out of my office without stumbling into things. It's a very useful thing. But no, to be honest, I'm not into I have to confess, I do use my mobile phone. I use Waze for navigation. I think that's a turn-by-turn navigation is a brilliant thing. But for me, if I'm out and about, I'll take my mobile. But it's not something I'm going to sit there and go over things. I don't have notifications coming up on my mobile, and I don't have email. I did have email once, but I gave it up. So no, I'm just an old fogey who really isn't part of the equation. But look, I use Yahoo Messenger, and we also have an in-house, I suppose it's a repository for messages and different tasks that we're doing and so on. So we coordinate that way. But I spend my whole day on Yahoo Messenger and this. I suppose it would be called an app that we've developed, and it enables us to communicate all that we need.
So you do use Yahoo Messenger and Hangout, pretty obvious, just not on your mobile.
Yeah, I use it. Well, yeah, when the SDM is what we call it. We communicate with programmers and with clients on that. Generally, if it's a brief message, then you'll go to Yahoo Messenger. Like if it's a throwaway message, but if it's a message which might be referred back to later, we'll put it on our platform, and it'll be archived there in case there's any issue later.
Yeah, one thing I don't like is basically the video on my phone. So video hangouts, I won't do those on my phone. So those will. I just don't want all the background and everything else around. Just doesn't feel the same as it would be on a desktop or a laptop. But the chat functionalities I love.
I think additional to that, what you're saying is there's another thing that really, when you're doing video conversations via phone, there's another problem that you do not have too much of control settings on your mobile, whereas you have a lot more in your desktop. Be it for any app, even for Hangout, you see more functions on your desktop or laptop, but not that much on your mobile. It's pretty limited there.
Definitely would agree on that one for sure. But it's getting better too. They're always adding. I mean, we just got the separation with Messenger and Hangouts, so that's for SMS, and then also just going. So I think that's awesome. It's powerful because I can speak to anybody on Hangouts in a chat across the world versus an SMS or sorry, a text message where it's going to cost me that carrier fee. Took a little bit of time to get used to where all the SMS, where all of my messages went to, which we saw those in the forums as well. Everybody's like, well, where did everything go? So it's an interesting transition from the recent update.
Yeah. Well, have we covered this one, do you think?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
And I must say, and I'm proud of Jim, because he's using some kind of messenger at least. He's not really in 70s, or let's say 2000s of 2016 at least.
I'm not even of pension age yet now. You have to wait till August for that.
No, if you were not using any messenger app, I would have put you in 80s. I'm telling you honestly.
I've got a six. What was the name of that? ICQ. I've got a 6-digit ICQ ID. Not many people have, a number less than 1 million. Anyway. Not that I use it. Anyway, old people, you never know what they're going to do next, do you? Here we go. I was really annoyed to see I really think some people get up in the morning and they look around for something to get outraged about. It's more Facebook than Twitter, but yeah, I mean, Stephen Fry said to a lady who was a costume designer that she was so confident that she was a friend, and he was, in Stephen's words, joshing her. Said she came as a bag lady, and then everybody got all upset about that. I think, really, it's let's wait to see if the lady complains before we start getting up. I mean, what do you guys think?
I think this is happening all the time now, that this comment was made in a certain context. It was a joke, and both the person making the joke and who's at the receiving end of that joke, as it were, both were on the same plane. So they understood what was being said. In order to understand that something is a joke, both parties have to know that it's a joke. If there is no understanding between the person making the joke and the person receiving the joke, then it would be simply offensive. And obviously that can be a bit of a problem, because we see that often with different cultures, different age groups, different political orientation even. So there's always a difficulty with that. So what's happening with social media, in a sense, is that people who are not, in a sense, directly involved in that conversation, in that joke making, are now seeing from outside, and then decide to take offense on someone's behalf. And it's just the latest in that, I think. We see that all the time. People having a conversation in which someone, and then someone looks from outside and then thinks, wait a minute, is that what you are saying? And because that person who's jumping in from outside doesn't know the history, doesn't know the context, that person, the person jumping from the outside, often jumps to conclusions and then post about it, be angry about it, and so on and so forth. And so, it is just latest in that. And we see that all the time, I think. We see that in our own experiences. It's not just Twitter, it's not just Facebook, it's not just Google Plus, it can happen in forums. And you could say it could happen in normal day conversation. You might be in a public space and having a conversation with someone, and then sometimes you have someone jumping into your conversation. Obviously, that is a bit weird when it happens in real life, right? You're sitting let's say in a coffee shop with a friend, and both of you perhaps have a very peculiar sense of humor, shall we say, and you're having a conversation. And then, okay, to someone who is not aware of all the history, all the context, all the context, all the relationship that you build with that person, things might sound very strange and weird. But in most cases, people are not going to come around and harangue you. But in social media, what we do is that people see something on television, as it is in this case, or other occasions, and then people comment on Twitter saying, "Oh, have you heard X, Y, and Z saying A, B, and C? That's wrong." And then that anger is manufactured and then multiplied because people would say, "Oh, this person said that, which is clearly wrong," and it snowballs into something bigger and bigger. The question really is, how do you respond to that? Some people can take it. Some people will fight it. Some people will apologize for it. I mean, it's very difficult because in the end, it's about not understanding the context. So things have been taken out of context and being made to something else. So it's never a conversation as such. It's just manufactured anger. And then how you deal with that depends on who you are, what kind of person you are, and what the situation is. And in Stephen Fry's case, he decided to seemingly delete his Twitter account.
Yeah, that's what I noticed when I was reading through the article. He just showed that he deleted it. I don't know the rest of the backstory, if he actually had so many followers just blowing up or giving him a hard time, or because there is that thing called bullying. When somebody does say something that's kind of, like you said, humorous, that we're not kind of in that mindset or that understanding of how they communicate, it's easy to jump into that conversation and have a firestorm. So.
Yeah, Stephen Fry is one of the most popular people in the United Kingdom as far as Twitter followers are concerned. So he has had a few spats, shall we say, with his followers. So he has, taken time off Twitter previously and threatened to do so a number of times. So in that sense, it's not the first time that this has happened. But if he has indeed deleted his account, then that he has taken it a lot further than he has done or he had done before.
Yes.
Yeah, it's as if they get up and they go looking for something to be outraged about, and if they haven't got anything to be outraged for themselves, they'll go and be outraged for somebody else.
Yeah, and I think I think, and I feel that people are, what would be the right word, quicker to be angry and direct that anger towards um, people in the public eye, as it were. So famous people, actors, um, people like that. But it's personal. That's the thing, isn't it? Social media, whether it's Twitter or Facebook, obviously they might be run by the people who manage personalities. That's possible. But I think in Stephen Fry's case, I think he does really manage that himself. So it is one-to-one. It is personal, and I think people are ready to hurl abuse at people, thinking, well, it doesn't matter. It's on social media, and hey, he's famous. He's, but that doesn't mean people can take it or should take it. I think it's that sort of lack of empathy that we see in trolling and cyberbullying, which are big issues. But I think that's most pronounced towards famous people, and we as a society seem to think, well, if they're famous, then they can take it. I'm not 100% sure whether that's the right attitude. Obviously, people should be criticized if they do something wrong, but I think there is readiness among people to be more extreme and harsher in responding to famous personalities. But you could argue that such people may be hurling abuse to ordinary people online, and which does happen. And we see that cyberbullying as a very big issue. So it's interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah. I've seen better looking bag ladies anyway.
You're terrible.
All right, let's move on to the next. I was only joking, only looking for what I got.
Jim, I'm going to have to unfollow you now.
All right, this one is more logical progress. Picasa, which survived 4 years or 5 years of Google Plus, or a bit over 4 years anyway, running in parallel with the photo section. And now photos.google.com is going to replace Picasa altogether. Doesn't really affect me. I upload very few photos, but Masataki, you upload a lot. Is photos? My criticism is many of the features of photos which used to be in Google Plus are gone. Really good, useful things. Now you can't do as much as you could before, or is it just me? I'm just missing the right link. Is it just me, or is really photos.google.com less than they were before?
I think it's fair to say there are fewer functions. So editing function, for example, has been slimmed down. You can comment directly on a publicly shared image, which you could do on Picasa web albums. So I think that's there are many issues. My problem with it is that Picasa Web Albums, more or less, I think one of the paths for Google Drive does it as well. But mainly, if you want to see all the images you have on sort of Google Cloud Space, you have to go to Picasa Web Albums. For example, if you have a blog and you upload images, they don't appear on Google Photos, but they do appear as an album on Picasa Web Albums. So it's not accessible through Google Photos. Same for Hangouts. If you have Hangouts and then you post an image in a Hangout, that doesn't really appear. So there, and also if you upload images directly to local Google Plus pages, local, landmarks and shops and businesses, organizations, those kind of things, then they don't appear on your photos, photos.google.com. You'd have to go to Picasa Web Albums or to drive.google.com and then go through. I think there are two paths on Google Drive. If you synchronize Google Photos with your Drive, then what happens is that then Photos appears as a menu on your Google Drive. So when you go to drive.google.com, then it appears on desktop or as one of the options on your left-hand side menu. But it's also possible to look through by going to My Drive, Google Photos, then year and month. And for reasons that I have never been able to establish to my satisfaction, sometimes things appear in one of those paths and not the other. So you just don't know what images you have, and the only place that I know where you're confident that you're going to see all your photos wherever you have uploaded, that's Picasa Web Album. So when that goes, I'm going to have some issues trying to locate some of the images that I have, because I won't be able to find them, or I won't be able to find them easily as I could do now, because Photos is chronological. So if I have uploaded something a long time ago, then even if they were to appear on photos.google.com or viewed via drive.google.com, I would have to scroll down and down and down to see it. Or I have to know which year and which month if I want to go through Google Drive, My Drive, Google Photos, year and month. So it is very annoying as far as I'm concerned for that particular reason.
I'd agree with a lot of that. I mean, even with bloggers, especially, there's a lot of fear in the community of somebody, or basically the picture's going away, but they're treating it as real. But what happens when a website on a blogger has its custom theme and everything else, and then they can't make those changes into like the header or any other graphic? It's going to be back over to the albums or collections now, right? They're called collections and photos versus albums.
Yeah. So yeah, you can find albums under collections. So if you go to photos.google.com, it's the third menu, I think, on the left above the three dots on desktop. But they won't show certain albums, so the blogger ones won't show up. And then if you click on the three dots, then you can see which ones you've shared, i.e. you've generated a link to that particular image or set of images which you can, sort of cut off the link. That's how you control the visibility of photos. So that's why when you're trying to share photos from Google Photos, it can, they try to do it as a link instead of giving you the direct link to the image file. That is, I think, an attempt to give the users control which ones to share and if you don't want to share something anymore, what you can do is essentially remove the link rather than deleting the files and then changing the details that way. But I think generally speaking, there is going to be quite a lot of issues because I don't think Google Photos has the functions to meet the needs of people yet, at least not at this point in time. And people might not be particularly willing to trust Google in this respect. In that, you had Photos that was integrated in Google Plus, then it was spun off, then how you share albums on Google Plus that has changed, and it's become quite messy. Whereas Picasa Web Albums, basic as it might have been, has been stable. It's been there for quite a long time. People know how to use it, and you can do certain things, and you're fairly certain that it's worked for quite a long time. I don't think people have that kind of confidence in Google Photos yet.
Yeah, and it's harder, a lot more difficult to actually create you can make collections and albums or whatever in photos, but being able to go back in history, because I've got, I don't know, at least 20,000 pictures up there, if not more. But and that's all the way back to when Picasa days. So, but then all those Picasa stuff before did not merge into my Google Photos, so all that I'm sure I'm missing a ton of images from that. But when Blogger, so basically they have a link to a Picasa URL, I wonder if if they're going to be like a 301 redirect once they actually, if they ever get rid of that domain and just close off those URLs.
So they will.
Because that'll break a lot of sites.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't redirect them properly, we're going to have a huge riot, essentially, because that you can't do. But having said that, for some time there was what was it called? Google Maps Views. It was it was a sort of separate standalone product for a while, but that got closed down. I think it was Maps Views or something like that, and then all the images now redirect to the homepage or something like that. So they had messed that up. So who knows? At least link to a page is not the image files. Image files remain the same. I think it's constant. So if Google were to break all those links on all those Blogger blogs, that would be terrible. I don't think they would do that. Cross our fingers they won't do it.
Cross our fingers. Yep.
I'll be Tim tonight and say, mate, you're doomed. See, a few days ago, I told you guys I listen to Blab sometimes. So there was a controversial conversation there on Blab, and somebody just had come up with a statement about Google. I'm so sorry, Google. I'm going to say it out, spill it out, and this is harsh, right? Why make something that you don't sustain? So Google has the tendency of creating something, bringing it to the market, letting people use it, and snatch it away. Not take it away, basically snatch it away. So yes, we get it's their product, but if you've got users and and people are using it in a very nice way, keep it for some reason at least. Just don't push it, snatch it away. And I completely agree with you there, Masataki, that the reality is that when you get into Google Photos, you're basically extremely confused because you don't have date stamps, you don't have access to the entire library of images that you have put into Google, be it connected to Blogger, be it connected to any of the other services that are there. The only central area that existed so far, and the only existing, was Picasa. If I had to look up images that I uploaded 3 years ago, I'm going to tell you honestly, I don't find it on Google Plus or photos on Google Plus. I have to go to Picasa to actually see those images.
Yeah.
Oh, that was harsh.
No,
That was harsh. That was harsh at Google.
No, but it's the truth. It's something that's happening, and we're trying to go and counter, going, okay, we have thousands of images. How do we reorganize? And then, tool. I believe the actual the desktop tool for Picasa is not leaving. They're not gonna support it. I don't think for updates, but at least if you have it, it's still easy to use. But you're right. There's organization has been kind of a difficult thing in photos. I mean, you can do a search for dog or clouds, or being able to utilize machine learning to find those things in a quick way, which has been nice. But if you want to be able to find all of those pictures from that day, it makes it a little difficult to go back. Okay, I found that dog picture, and now I need to actually find the rest of the dog pictures I shot that day. The functionality, the UI or UX is just not allowing us to do certain things like that. And maybe
You were saying?
No, I think hopefully it'll be there in the future. Being able to do a lot more with photos. We've seen a lot of upgrades to the interface, and as well as the interface on Android on the mobile device. So I know that they're constantly moving in that direction. That might be either discontinuing Picasa and moving it over to Drive and Photos.
See, when I talk about blogger pictures, I only see if I have a new blog that I've recently made after Google Plus has come in play, and then there is photos in play. I remember I had a new blog, but I'm not basically accessing it. But I did have a couple of pictures in it, and those are the only pictures that shows in photos.google.com. But if I have to go and see the entire other folders, other old blogs of mine, pictures of old blog, I have to go to Picasa, and there's no way I'm actually being able to, no matter how much I scroll down, no matter what albums I go through, there's no pictures there. And it's kind of annoying actually, because if you're building up a new platform, give it full access, then revoke the other one. You have not even given the full access to this new platform, and you're already revoking where the entire library exists for people. So it's really annoying because it's I think a heartache, because I don't have good pictures, but I am so sure, because I see a lot of awesome and amazing clicks from Masataki, and they're amazing. They're brilliant clicks. I see on Instagram as well. And to lose these photographs and not to see it anywhere else, especially on photos where you're basically using it, it's kind of troubling.
Yeah, I think one of the issues is that there is no place where you can showcase, as a photographer, your images. If you go to Picasa Web, it used to be a case that you could show, say, okay, I'm going to show these albums to public, and people land on that page, and then can see your, and browse through your public albums. That sort of moved over to Google Plus, the classic, the old Google Plus. If you go to someone's Photos tab, then you can see the albums again, with highlights being shown, and then you can decide whether you want to browse through or not. Now that the sharing is done through links, primarily through links, you create an album, which is essentially sort of grouping of images. They're not a distinct set, as it were. And then you create that album and you share a link. But that's not the same as saying, okay, these are the photographs that I have and I would like to share with everyone. This is my portfolio. This is what I'd like to show to all people. You can't do that. And I think that's been the issue. And then you can interact. with Picasa web albums, it used to be the case that if you have a public album, then people could comment on your photos, individual photos. So, people might go through your album, they liked a particular image, they'll comment on it. So that was imperfectly transferred to Google Plus, so that people could comment on individual photographs, and it sort of created a hidden post with that particular image, I think, which is sort of slightly confusing. But still, people could directly comment on an image that you find on someone's album. That was a bit difficult because people could have shared the same images in different places, whereas in Picasa web albums, it was just one image, if you like, in the public album. So there was only one conversation going on. With Google Plus, it got slightly messy. Now, it's not possible to have that kind of conversation at all on photos.google.com. You can comment on someone's photograph. You could share it and then comment on it, or you could comment on the shares of the album or image. But that's a bit different from being able to comment directly and engaging directly with a photographer on that particular page for that particular image. So Google Photos, photos.google.com, has removed that social element, which had existed in Picasa web albums before Google Plus, which has had a long history. Many people can remember commenting on images, photographs on Picasa web albums. That sort of was taken over, as I said, imperfectly by Google Plus. But at least you can still communicate, discuss, critique photographs. But now, you can't really do that on photos.google.com. And then it's great that it's making it far easier to share images, whether it's in terms of albums or individual image per link. But that means if you're a photographer, there is no central place where people discuss your work. You might be sharing it on Google Plus, and you might be having a discussion there. You might be sharing it on Facebook, and you might be having a discussion there. You might be sharing it to Twitter, and you having a discussion there. Instead of having one central place where everyone can come and have a good conversation about a particular image, that conversation is multiple. Conversations taken in multiple places with different people. And I think that's, in my view, I think that's a mistake. Because if I were a photographer and want to put something out, this is my album, this is the photographs I've taken at this place or at this occasion, and I want to share it, and I want to share it with other people, and I want to know what they think about it. Then I want to have one place where I can engage in that conversation, linked to the place where I'm storing it. But no, that's not possible with Google Photos.
Definitely, it's going to be an interesting direction. So we'll definitely probably see a lot of comments in the forums. But
it's more about storage now, isn't it? It's about storing images, and you can now ask people to there's the shared albums as well, so people can add photographs to your album and so on and so forth, which is a good thing. So in that sense, I think it's working out. I think it works for as photo storage, and if you're using it sort of as a family album, if you like, it is more private, I think, than aimed for photographers who want to showcase their work. I don't think Google Photos is aimed at that segment. I think it is firmly aimed at people, if you like, normal people, taking photographs of birthday parties, of themselves, of their cats and dogs, and usually yeah.
But how does somebody control the spam of the images going into your shared album or collection?
I don't think you can. So you have to trust the person, I think. I haven't tried. It's a good question.
See, when William says, it's hard to trust. Um, Google has past record of showing that they're completely untrust, trusting people. Anything could happen anytime, and I wouldn't mind saying, because see, we have Gmail. So you've introduced a new segment that is like inbox. I'm so sorry that I'm going off the topic, but yes, it's another set of example. So it wouldn't be hard, it wouldn't be surprising if in the end of 2016 Google says that we're deleting Gmail, you have to access via you know uh, the inbox. So it won't.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, someone from Gmail has got into the system.
Lost her.
Oh dear. No, I think
Meher's very clear tonight.
Yeah, she makes a good point though with inbox. I mean, because inboxes come out and there's a lot of people that like it and a lot of people that don't like it. They prefer the Gmail. Personally, I prefer the Gmail because I start losing conversations in my email with inbox.
Yeah. No, that happens to me. So, because what I do, the problem is that with inbox, that once you read something, it sort of is archived or something like that, and I need to keep that because what I tend to do is in Gmail, because they're work emails, I use a lot of labels and rules, and if it matches X, Y, and Z, then label this and put it in inbox. So that's how I usually work. So when I have a job, then I might read it first. I don't immediately respond or do it, but I read, acknowledge that, and I need to keep that in inbox until I'm finished with that. Then I'm archiving those conversations. But when I used inbox, they disappeared. Then I had to go back to Gmail, go to all mail or sent mail or wherever it was, and then I had to dig it up, put it back in inbox. I mean Gmail inbox, not inbox, and then try to sort out. And then they're giving me all sorts of weird cards that I didn't need. The weather card. Yes, I can see outside. It's nice and sunny. I don't need that taking half my screen on my phone. And then I once went somewhere, and then Google thought that was my commute. So for next 2 weeks, I had a card saying what the traffic was like to point Z. So no, I mean it has been pretty bad. The inbox, I'm not a great fan of, because I think I'm kind of person who compartmentalize use and say, look, email is email. It's a tool that I need, and I want to be in control of what messages I see and I keep in the inbox.
Especially, like you mentioned, you view the actual email, then it goes to the archive. My same problem. If I view it on my mobile, say I'm out on a walk and I'm reading my email, then I come back to the office and I'm like, wait a minute, where did it go?
Yeah, that threw me. That really confused me, because at one point I had about 5 or 6 things going on at the same time, and I had to keep on top of each of those. And then the only way I'm doing that is making sure that they're all in inbox, Gmail inbox, so I know that they're there. And I'm not the kind of person who likes to put stars and then making it start, and then when it's done, I just keep it in inbox until it's done. Then I archive it.
I have no idea when did I go off, so I don't know what was the last statement that you guys heard.
That you won't be surprised that by the end of the year that we're all forced to use inbox.
So it was terrible. Wow, it was terrible.
And then someone from Gmail probably kicked you out of the Hangout.
And I wouldn't be surprised again for that if that happens. Yeah, well, I think it's like, yes, there's no doubt if I say Google is by default #1 company when it comes to being unpredictable. Anything can happen anytime. You could be forced to use one thing and the other thing within a span of months. So it's not something that is new. And don't kick me out, Google, because I'm really going to badmouth you this time if that happens again. But yeah, see, so this is how I feel personally about Google, because I told you guys that I'm using Gmail and my space is full already, and I couldn't get through my new space. So finally, I've been able to make some space with paid account on Google. And if I am actually not given services, I'm gonna kick them out badly. Now I'm actually paying. Don't do that to me.
Yeah, you're in a much better position that you're a paying customer. That's all. That always helps. But I think you've touched on something really important, and that's about predictability and stability.
Yeah.
You know, if Google, if all Google users are pure consumers, who have a choice and decide to use Google products, and that's fine. There is a substitute. So let's say, if you don't like Gmail, you could have Yahoo Mail or Outlook or whatever. You could say that. But in certain circumstances, and I'm going off topic a bit, people are in a sense forced to use Google or be at least aware of what Google is doing. And that's prominent in local business, for example, or maps. Right? If you run a business, then a brick and mortar business, you have a shop on there, then it's really important that you appear on the local search, because many people do search on Google Maps. So you as a business owner may not particularly like Google as a company or use Google products, but in order for you to succeed as a business, you will have to be aware of what Google is doing in terms of maps or local listings and things like that.
Indeed.
And so that's where I think there are lots of issues with something like local. I mean, it's been changing every few months. It is, I don't know how local businesses cope, because it's, they've been dragged through all sorts of things. Okay, so this is local, now it's just going to merge with Google Plus and move it on to Google Plus platform. Now it's segregating again. I mean, where is it going? And it's tough, because A, they didn't necessarily want to be on it, but they really have to be on it in order to succeed as a business. And the platform itself is horribly unpredictable. You just don't know what's going to happen in 3 months' time, 6 months' time. I don't think anyone can now say, okay, what Google local business listings are going to be like in 6 months' time, a year's time. So there's the general direction of travel, and we sort of know which way Google is going, but we just don't know what exact shape and form it's going to take. And as any business, you could do without that kind of instability and unpredictability. It's impossible to future-proof. And I think that's been one major issue with many of the Google products. It's okay if it's a consumer product, because it's a consumer choice issue. But when it comes to something that's related to businesses and others, then that really becomes an issue. And when many businesses and organizations use certain things, then I think Google has to be more careful about how they approach their sort of product launches and iterations, because I think a lot of people are not happy about how Google does things. I mean, you could say, hey, it's nice, they're always doing new things, they're pushing out new things, but that means adapting to changes, you absorbing information. And those things can cost you time, money, and effort. And I think Google is sometimes, what would be the right word, insensitive to that need.
I really, really hope Google people are listening this, because my next statement is really going to be, hitting their backs badly. So, see, there are so many tutorials for LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, for Blab, in fact, for every other platform, for even Pinterest is there. But why nobody has tutorials, solid tutorials for Google, is because you're unpredictable. You have changes, not just changes, you basically flip the platform anytime. You just like, it's like there and it's gone. So you guys don't have any stability. You guys don't have any, how should I say, uh, you guys are completely unpredictable. So if I have to do a tutorial about you, as in Google, for any of the services, I would never do, because you can change the entire thing in one day. You can even flip the thing. You can even let the system go entirely within a month. So you guys are completely unpredictable, and that's a fact. See, why do people really do tutorials? Is because they want you to get to know how the platform works, and they can mint money out of that. But why nobody really does on Google Plus or Google Services or any of the Google products is because they're completely unpredictable. That's a reality. And yes, I hope you guys are listening. This is something Google has to realize and work something on, because it's not just annoying, it's actually creepy. Yeah. See, the silence is speaking right now. Silence is so speaking.
I would say it is always changing, and I'm guilty of making tutorials as well. But I can go back to a simple tutorial that we had, like even for Hangouts, way back in, was it 2013 or 2014, when I was basically doing the tutorials on this. I can go back in the screenshot and say, wow, this was, and going back to I like the technology, it's changed, but it's also, if we go backwards in history, it has really come a long ways. Whereas we're always getting kicked off the platform. We still have problems here and there on just talking Hangouts, but without those changes, I think we'd be still in the past. They were able to push these out pretty quickly, and yes, it is a lot of adapting. But I think going back to the business side, it is a pain for companies when something changes, especially maps. It's part of their business. They're like, wait a sec, where'd all my reviews go? How do I take my link for my reviews to a page that actually has reviews? Well, now it's kind of suppressed into, you have to be clicking a link on the page to get the reviews module to come up to get a review. So little things like that. Now you've got a simple change, but now they have to go back and modify their websites, and that's cost and time to them. And how many times are they going to continue to do that? I mean, they have to, but at the same time as businesses are getting upset, I guess you could say, on the constant fluctuation.
William is actually being very humble. So honestly, because if you look back to 2015 February tutorial, any of the ones he's made, he can see there is an entire change in the system. Even for Hangouts, there's a major change. So honestly, Google, he's just being humble. You guys need to get stable. Seriously, this has to, I don't know. I feel sorry to again and again, criticize Google, because I think this is one of the platforms that I really, really love, and I would like to, see it grow. But every time I keep my hopes, up, I see it's going down. So, see, I'm not saying I'm a big fan of Facebook or any other platform. In fact, I'm a big fan of Google. But so I've got a right to criticize it, because I'm using it so extensively, and it really burns me inside to see. Okay, Google Plus 2015, Google Plus 2016. Look at the change. Photos, tabs, everything is gone. Everything from being on one singular platform. Hangout even was in Google Plus, right? Now it's completely separate, which is okay, but at least get those tabs which were there. If you want to make it a separate platform, make it. But if people are, using it as a universal tool like Hangouts, like Photos, like Gmail, keep it in a sync. Just don't, rip it apart and give it separate link. You want to give it separate, but have the courtesy of, or let's say tenacity of keeping things together for people who are actually using it, not basically ripping them off and say, oh, you got to use this way. We're done. Hello, Nasir. Nasir is here.
Yeah, I mean that in terms of that Google Plus issue, it is the big change, wasn't it? I mean, what would be the right analogy? Well, in a sense, Google Plus was meant to be the cruise ship, the big ship. Google. It's going to be the big Google mothership, if you like. It was going to be that everything. It's going to have everything on it. It's going to be the thing that's going to bind everything together that you do on Google. That's why they force him to integrate YouTube comments into Google Plus and so on and so forth. And then obviously many people weren't happy about that, and I think they realized that it needed to turn around. So what they're trying to do, again mixing metaphors and analogies, is now they're trying to turn a big tanker, well, a big ship, trying to get in a dock, and then dismember it, and then create sort of smaller but speedier boats. And we're in that process. So now sort of they pushed out a big ship amid much fanfare a number of years ago when Google Plus first started. It sailed off, it set off into rough seas, and they have decided that no, this ship isn't really doing it. We must have it turn around, come back to the docks, and then we have to do something about it. So that shift turned. Photos became an independent product. There's segregation of YouTube comments from Google Plus. That's all happening now. So the ship has turned. It's heading towards it's now in the docks, and now they're saying, okay, right, we have to dismantle this ship a bit, and let's put speedier boats, smaller boats, Hangouts. Yep, okay, let's push it out. That's good. YouTube again, separate again, but still that's still in progress. Photos. Yeah, okay, let's put that as a separate, niftier, faster boat that can navigate the seas better, and that's what they've been trying to do. So if you wanted to be a passenger on a big ship, you'll be disappointed because you're booked on that cruise. Now that ship's no longer. But if you're the kind of person who likes to have a number of small boats, faster yachts, if you like, then it's great. Because you could decide, okay, I'm going to take that and that and that.
What I'm going to say next, maybe Jim would say, May, you're not joining us next time. But I'm going to use your example. Honestly, yeah, I get the idea where Google is basically having a big ship and they want to port everything together, right? So I get it. So like, for example, Picasa is basically a lifeboat in that big boat, big, gigantic boat. And people are using it, loving it. And so basically Google gets into sea, and one day they say, oh, the load is too heavy. You know what? Let's just flip one of the lifeboats. So basically Picasa is one of the lifeboats which is actually being flipped. Not just boat, it's a lifeboat, because Google Plus Photos, sorry, not Google Plus, basically Photos is there another platform which is completely in sync. It's like Google Plus is whatever. So I'm going to hold myself. Okay, whatever we are uploading to Photos, these days, is by default getting into Picasa. But whatever we had in Picasa is not coming to Google Photos, right? So basically, Picasa is a lifeboat right now, and Google just one day comes into big sea and says, let's just flip this lifeboat. So Picasa is going to get off the face of the earth. And photos is basically not a lifeboat right now. It's just a boat. It's not going to get you into sea and make you survive, right? Whereas Picasa was doing that.
Yeah, I
It
mean, you
was
could,
it was saving you from someplace. Your bloggers pictures were coming into it, your photos from Google Plus is coming into it, any other platform that you're using is coming into it, whichever is in sync for Google products is coming into Picasa, but it isn't coming into photos yet. And still one day Google decides to flip it over. That's amazing, brilliant job. You guys are awesome.
yeah, I mean,
Jim, don't throw me off next next week.
no, I think Jim really likes that. But yeah, I mean that's a good analogy in a sense that Picasso web albums is the lifeboat, and the problem is that um, Google Photos has a hole in the hole, and people are desperate trying to bail some water out, scooping water out of the ship to keep it afloat, and now they're throwing the lifeboat. So yeah, I mean, if it sinks, if you're a passenger on Google ship photos, then you could be in a bit of a trouble. So that I think that's a good analogy actually.
Yeah, because I would rather save my photos on Flickr, not on Google Photos anymore, because I know, at least from the history of Yahoo, that Flickr is still going to stick. They're not going to actually, because Yahoo hasn't actually got something. They did delete a lot of things, like one of the, I think, feed. They had some feed system that still is there. Partially, it's there. It's not completely gone, but they're not getting more members onto it. So if you don't want people to access Picasa, just don't get more members onto it. Let people have the access for maybe 1 or 2 years until you guys figure out what Google Photos is all about and has the full sync both ways and does the job what Picasa has been doing for so long. And then they got Picasa. You haven't even fixed photos right now, and you're basically putting off the lifeboat. That doesn't make sense. And you're actually, ship is already sinking, as you said, very politely and humbly. You said it, right? So,
And
yeah. So,
sorry.
and I'm done. Thank you, please.
No, I would probably just add to that. You can take, and here's another positive spin on things, but you can go back into communities, for example. In the new Google Plus, everything's now collections and communities. When they first flipped the switch of the new, with HTML5, responsive, all that stuff for the interface, things were missing, like moderator. We couldn't actually moderate spam comments in communities. Well, providing that Google reached out to a lot of people and said, please add the feedback button, and they add that feedback button down the very bottom left-hand corner, if we remember right. And they took that seriously. They started to make those adjustments. They heard the people saying, oh, you're missing something, and they worked to get that back. But I think a lot of things that they're doing as well with the new photos, they gave us a lot of warning prior that a lot of this was happening when they first went into, okay, you're going to start to see all of your photos come from into your Google Drive. And then now we've seen the migration of Google for that, so that we can actually have a download where I can then back up all my photos and my account. So I think there's stepping blocks at any company. This company just happens to be bigger than everybody else. It just, just like if we were to do a development project on any company, it takes time. There's going to have bugs, and then we have to fix the bugs. But I think because everybody's looking at it as this is Google or Yahoo or Bing, it's a different perspective, and I think people are missing that. Okay, we are changing, but it's not. They give us enough time. Like even we saw with Picasa a long time ago, this was actually coming because of Google Plus and photos and sharing and all those capabilities.
Yeah, I think the main issue is really about not providing the equivalent functions. I think that's always an issue, isn't it? When you move from one platform to another, or you have a new version, people get angry, and I think rightfully so, when they see functions that they have relied upon not being there. So I think that's where a lot of issues come from, and you know, if they're added later, then you get the feeling that Google has pushed something out too early. You know, they push that something incomplete, unfinished out there. And if a function were to go completely, if it would disappear completely, then it becomes an issue for people who had relied on that function. So, yeah. But I think in terms of photos, I think there are real functions that are missing, and I think that really needs to be addressed. Otherwise, people are going to be very unhappy, and rightfully so, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, the notification has been there, the warnings has been there. The point is, see, when we were talking about lifeboat and a boat, basically, what we meant is why I said Picasa was basically a lifeboat and the other one is basically a photo. Because what happens is, what's currently happening is photos, anything that we upload on photos is basically getting into Picasa. But nothing from Picasa is coming down to photos. I mean, like, it's partially there, it's not there. So, I mean, the system hasn't been foolproof right now. So, if I have to say photos on photos.google.com is not yet a lifeboat, right? It's an unstable thing. It's not fully developed, or there are bugs, whatever you want to call it. But it's still not up to the mark. There's no settings. It's very limited. And Picasa is basically the end of everything. Everything that you do on Google, anything that's related to photos, uploading and downloading, whatever happens goes to Picasa. Not downloading, but yes, Picasa does offer that. But the whole thing is the entire backup is in Picasa. So everything is getting to Picasa, but nothing is partially. Everything is not everything. Partially, things are coming out of Picasa, but it's still not in a very equal sync. If I have to say there is an equal sync, there's no equal syncs. So that's what my problem is. You don't have a very solid platform yet, and you're already getting it wiped out. So I find it to be very, I think, stupid move. So that's why I said if I want to move to Flickr, I think it's still predictable. It's because if they have a new platform, that's what Yahoo has proven so long. If they're giving you a new platform, it would be much advanced than the older version. And if we look at Google history, whatever Google brings new, it is not giving advancement. It's not improving. It's just making another. It's not adding things to it. It's just fixing. Google Plus is so old right now. When we talk about social media, it's an old thing right now. It's not something that is new in the market. It's an old thing, and they're still fixing bugs. And especially when you look at the company, the brand name Google. Seriously, you're still fixing it? You should be improving it, not fixing it. So when Orchid was gone, Orchid had so many features, the birthdays, blah, blah, there are a lot of features. So when you're taking down a system, bring a better system, not the similar or the lower version of it. Bring a better system. So that's what I think Google fails to understand. When you get into market, get a better version out of it, not something lower or something just like, okay, we're taking Orchid out, oh, we're giving you Google Plus. Not something which is not improved, which is not much more advanced. Fine, testing bugs goes on. No system is perfect, whether it's Google or Google in that case. It doesn't really matter. Every system gets online, develops, and improves. But Google Plus needed to be something more advanced version of Orchid, because it was supposed to capture the entire universe of Google, whatever services or products. It did indeed. But yes, then again it was like channelized. And Jim is gonna kick me next week for sure.
No. It's fine, Maha.
So yeah.
Well, I suppose now is a good time to call a halt. Or would you like to discuss this subject further?
No, I think do
I've got
what
a
you
few
criticize.
life left in me. I can probably stick it out.
I think one video for Google criticism is great, I think. Sorry,
Okay.
Google.
All right. It looks like we're at that time. We've exhausted the three topics which were posted on the Social Media Fridays community on Google+. We look forward to seeing your topic one day soon. We'll be back at the same time next week to do this all again, but for now, it's goodbye.